Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive into the world of books.
I'm excited for this one.
This time we're looking at Catching Fire, the second book in Suzanne Collins' Hunger Games trilogy.
Oh yeah, definitely a fan favorite.
It picks up right where the first book left off.
With Katniss and Peeta back in District 12 after winning the games.
But their victory came with a price.
They defied President Snow, and he's not someone you want to cross.
Exactly. He's definitely not going to let them forget it.
And Catching Fire really explores what it means to be a victor in Panem, in this society built on oppression.
Yeah, it's not all fancy parties and parades.
No, not at all. Katniss is dealing with a lot of guilt, survivor's guilt, and the pressure of being this symbol of hope.
It's interesting how Collins contrasts her life in the victor's village with the poverty back in her home district.
Yeah, that's a great point. She has hot water and all these luxuries, but her friend Gale refuses any financial help.
He's so proud and independent. I can understand why he wouldn't want to take anything from her.
But it also shows how deeply the Capitol's manipulation runs. They want to isolate victors from their communities.
It's like they're trying to break those bonds of solidarity.
Exactly. And even Katniss's relationship with Haymitch, her mentor, is complicated.
He's such a fascinating character, this jaded alcoholic. But he really cares about Katniss and Peeta in his own way.
I love those little details, like her buying him white liquor because she remembers his withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, it shows her compassion and her loyalty, even towards someone who's so flawed.
And it sets up that mentor-student dynamic, which is so important as the story unfolds.
Speaking of important relationships, President Snow pays Katniss a visit, and the tension is palpable.
Oh yeah, that scene is chilling.
He smells like blood and roses, such a deliberate image, I think, connecting beauty and violence in a way that perfectly embodies the Capitol.
It's a subtle threat, letting her know that her actions have sparked rebellion, whether she intended to or not.
He sees her as a dangerous spark, and he's determined to extinguish her.
And then there's the symbol of that rebellion, the Mockingjay pin. It's fascinating how it emerged so organically.
It wasn't planned by any rebel group. It just caught fire, pun intended, as a symbol of hope and defiance.
It's brilliant how Collins shows that even the most oppressive regimes can't control how symbols are interpreted.
The Capitol tries to spin it to their advantage, but the districts see right through it.
They see Katniss the girl who defied the Capitol.
And speaking of defiance, things get even darker in District 12 with the arrival of the new head peacekeeper, Romulus Thread.
Ugh, that guy. He's brutal, punishing people for the smallest offenses.
It creates this atmosphere of fear and desperation. Collins really makes you feel the weight of the Capitol's oppression.
Yeah, and in the midst of all this darkness, there are whispers about District 13.
The one that was supposedly obliterated by the Capitol.
Yeah, it's just a rumor at first, but the idea of a haven, a place free from the Capitol's tyranny, offers this glimmer of hope.
It's interesting how Katniss is skeptical at first. She's seen the Capitol's power firsthand.
I think that skepticism is part of what makes her such a believable hero. She's not naive.
Definitely. But then comes the announcement of the 75th Hunger Games, the Quarter Quell.
And that's when things really hit the fan.
The rule change is just devastating. Instead of new tributes, past victors will be forced back into the arena.
It's so cruel and calculated. The Capitol is basically saying, we're going to make you destroy each other.
The reactions from everyone are so raw. Haymitch is completely shattered. Katniss's family is terrified.
It's a turning point where survival isn't just about winning the games, it's about the very spirit of rebellion.
You know what helps me survive a good book? A way to connect with other readers and dissect all those juicy details.
Oh, tell me more. I'm always looking for new bookish things to try.
Well, I recently discovered this app called Bookspace, and it's amazing. It's a community for book lovers where you can connect with other fans, share quotes, and keep track of your reading journey.
That sounds perfect. Especially for a book like Catching Fire, where you just want to talk about all the twists and turns with other people.
Exactly. And I think it'd be especially interesting to hear what people think about the Quarter Quell and everything that leads up to it.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
You should. Just search for Bookspace on your app store.
Awesome. So we've got the Quarter Quell looming past victors forced back into the arena. Katniss's world is about to explode all over again.
I can't wait to see what happens next. This Quarter Quell arena is something else. It's like a giant clock, with each section representing a different hour of the day.
And each hour brings a new deadly surprise. It's terrifying.
It's like Collins wanted to show how the Capitol controls every aspect of the games, even time itself.
Exactly, and the tributes are constantly at their mercy.
But what's fascinating is how Katniss starts to figure out the patterns of the arena, with her hunting instincts and her growing awareness of how the Capitol manipulates things.
Yeah, she's not just reacting to the dangers, she's trying to understand them, outsmart them.
It's a key step in her transformation from tribute to rebel.
She's not just fighting for survival, she's challenging the whole game.
And the alliances she forms with the other victors are so complex and compelling.
Oh, absolutely. Like Finnick Odair from District 4.
He's so charming and cunning, you never quite know if he's going to be a friend or foe.
But he proves his loyalty to Katniss time and again, and he's willing to make sacrifices for the greater good.
I love how Collins gives us glimpses into his past, the trauma he's endured. It makes him such a multi-layered character.
And then there's Mags, the elderly woman from District 4, who's so protective of Finnick.
Her quiet strength is so moving, especially when you consider the sacrifices she ultimately makes.
Her death, throwing herself into the poisonous fog to save the others, is one of the most heartbreaking moments in the book.
It really underscores the depth of their bond and the cruelty of the Capitol.
And we can't forget about BT and Wires from District 3.
They're brilliant, but kind of eccentric. They bring this analytical, almost scientific approach to the games.
They're the ones who figure out the clock-like pattern of the arena.
And Wires, with her constant tick-tock, becomes this haunting reminder of the threat of death.
Her death at the hands of Johanna Mason is another gut punch.
Johanna is such a wild card.
Yeah.
She's strong, resourceful,
Yeah.
but she also has this ruthless streak.
I know, like cutting the tracker out of Katniss's arm. That was shocking.
It makes you question who you can trust in the arena.
If anyone.
Right. Is every alliance just temporary, ultimately self-serving?
It's a question that haunts Katniss throughout the games.
And it becomes even more relevant as their escape plan unfolds.
Which is so daring and ingenious, by the way. Using the force field as a weapon.
BD is a genius. It's a testament to their willingness to risk everything for freedom.
But it's also incredibly dangerous. It relies on perfect timing and a lot of luck.
And then the climax. The force field weakens, explosions, chaos everywhere.
And Katniss gets whisked away to safety, but not by the Capitol.
That's the moment where everything changes. She wakes up on a rebel aircraft heading to District 13.
With district that was supposedly obliterated.
It's a complete mind blower. It makes you realize there's been this whole underground movement happening, and Katniss has been a pawn in a much larger game.
It's like the rug has been pulled out from under you as a reader.
Exactly. And speaking of things that enhance the reading experience, I want to mention this fantastic app I discovered called Bookspace.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Tell me more.
It's a community app where you can connect with other book lovers, discuss your favorite reads, share quotes, and even organize your own virtual bookshelf.
That sounds amazing, like having a book club at your fingertips.
Exactly. And I think it would be perfect for discussing Catching Fire, all the twists and turns, and that shocking ending.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
So back to the rebellion. What are your thoughts on that cliffhanger ending with Katniss being taken to District 13?
It completely reframes the story. It's not just about Katniss surviving the games anymore, it's about the possibility of real organized resistance against the Capitol.
And her role as the Mockingjay takes on a whole new meaning. She's not just a symbol of hope, she's a potential leader.
But before we dive into that, I wanted to mention that scene where we find out Haymitch has been working with the rebels all along.
Oh my gosh, yes. That reveal was incredible.
It adds so much depth to their relationship. It shows that his gruff exterior was partly a way of protecting Katniss.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about him.
And it highlights how complex choices are in a society like Panem.
Even manipulation can be motivated by love
Yeah.
and a desire to protect the people you care about.
Exactly. And speaking of complex choices, let's talk about Katniss and Peeta. Their relationship takes on a whole new dimension in Catching Fire.
It's not just about survival anymore. It's about genuine love and sacrifice.
Their public displays of affection become a form of defiance against the Capitol. And then Peeta drops that bombshell during the interview announcing that Katniss is pregnant.
Oh my gosh, that was such a game changer.
It's partly a tactic to manipulate the audience, but it also adds so much complexity to their relationship.
It raises questions about love sacrifice and the impact of the Capitol's cruelty on families and future generations.
And it throws President Snow off balance, which is always satisfying to see.
It highlights how unpredictable Katniss and Peeta are.
But as the games go on and their escape plan unfolds, their love story becomes less about manipulation and more about a genuine connection.
Their final moments together before being separated are so poignant.
They really show how deep their bond is.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, love can endure.
But it also leaves us with a sense of uncertainty. Will they ever be reunited?
So many questions, and that ending just throws everything wide open. What will happen to Katniss in District 13?
What role will she play in the rebellion?
What about Peeta and the other victors?
I guess we'll have to wait for the final part of this episode to explore those questions.
But before we wrap up this part, I want to leave you with something to think about.
What's that?
What does Catching Fire tell us about hope in a dystopian society?
That's a good one.
Is it a dangerous illusion like President Snow believes, or a powerful force for change?
Keep that in mind as we delve into the final part of our discussion.
That image of Katniss being pulled from the arena, not by the Capitol, but by rebels from District 13, it really throws everything we thought we knew about Panem into question.
It's like the foundation of the Capitol's power. Their whole narrative crumbles a bit with that reveal.
Because their control relies on everyone believing that District 13 was obliterated.
Exactly, and suddenly it's not so certain anymore.
All those whispers about District 13 having this secret underground community suddenly become a lot more believable.
Right, you start to question everything you've been told as a reader.
Which is such a classic element of dystopian fiction, making you complicit in the systems of control and then forcing you to confront the truth.
And the rebellion itself takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just isolated acts of defiance anymore.
It could be an organized force, a real threat to the Capitol's dominance.
Exactly, and Katniss as the Mockingjay becomes even more crucial to that resistance.
She's not just a symbol of hope anymore. She's a potential leader in this fight for freedom.
That visual of her transformation with the dress that bursts into flames, it takes on a whole new meaning now.
It's like she's breaking free from the Capitol's control, both literally and metaphorically.
I love how the feathers represent freedom and flight, contrasting with the coal that symbolizes the oppression of District 12.
Yeah, and that final act of defiance, shooting an arrow with Beatty's wire into the force field, that's what destroys the arena and leads to her rescue.
It's such a powerful image of individual action sparking large-scale change.
But it's not just about destroying the arena. She also prioritizes Peeta's survival, putting her own life at risk to make sure he gets out.
It shows how deep their connection is, how their love story has evolved beyond just a performance for the cameras.
Their final moments together before being separated are so heartbreaking, but also so hopeful in a way.
It reminds us that even in the darkest times, love can endure.
But it also leaves us wondering if their bond can survive everything that's to come.
Exactly, and that's the big question now, isn't it? What will become of Katniss in District 13?
What role will she play in the rebellion? What's going to happen to Peeta and the other victors left behind?
Catching Fire ends on such a cliffhanger with so many questions unanswered.
But that's part of what makes it so compelling.
Oh, definitely. It makes you think critically about the themes of hope rebellion and the price of freedom.
And speaking of prices, we talked about the human cost of oppression. But the book also raises questions about the cost of rebellion.
What sacrifices will Katniss have to make in this fight? Can she really trust the rebels? Is she ready to be a leader?
These are all questions that will be explored in the final book of the trilogy, Mockingjay.
And I can't wait to dive into that with you.
Me neither. But before we go, I want to encourage everyone listening to connect with other readers and share your thoughts on Catching Fire.
It's such a thought-provoking book, and there's a whole community of people out there who want to discuss it.
And we mentioned an app earlier called Bookspace, which would be a great platform for that.
You can join groups dedicated to the book, share your favorite quotes, analyze the characters and themes, and even track your reading progress.
It's like having a virtual book club right at your fingertips.
It's a fantastic way to enhance your reading experience and connect with fellow book lovers.
And that's what we're all about here at Book to Read, sharing our love of literature and encouraging meaningful conversations.
Exactly. So keep those conversations going, dive into Mockingjay, and let us know what you think.
Until then, happy reading, everyone.